of your life and my life and professional athletes' life is fit. So Geno Smith is leaving Seattle, and he's going to the Raiders, and he's going to sign a long contract. It's pretty expensive. I actually like the move. Geno Smith in Seattle to a better roster was played out. It's a very good Seattle roster. He couldn't take him to the next level. And I would have let him go. It was a nice story. He's a nice player. But the Raiders is a much different situation. They haven't won a playoff game in 22 years. They have no stability at all at quarterback, and it's a really bad quarterback draft class. So Geno Smith, with a coach he knows and respects, Pete Carroll, and with a quarterback coach / coordinator, Chip Kelly, who likes his quarterbacks to be accurate and move well, Geno's a great fit. He's going to end up this year with the Raiders having a mid or better 97 passer rating. He'll complete 67, 68% of his throws. He'll have a ton of yards, and he'll give you stability and production. So what's interesting is if you go back since 2022 to Geno Smith and a quarterback I really like, Justin Herbert, it's kind of the same guy. If you look at the numbers, it's the same guy. Now, I think Herbert has a much higher ceiling than Geno Smith. Obviously, most people would agree with me, but they're big, they move well, and they're accurate at throwing the ball. So, and again, Geno with Chip and Pete Carroll is going to be fine. And life is all about timing. Pete Carroll is not at the age, at 73, he's got great energy, but he doesn't want to be a babysitter at quarterback, and Geno's an adult, comes in, gets it done. Tom Brady, it should be noted, also signed off on this move, so I have no problem with it. Tom knows quarterbacks. Geno's also, interestingly, Geno's 34 years old, but Geno hasn't played as many snaps as a lot of 34-year-olds. So he's like a young 34-year-old. He hasn't taken nearly the hits as most 34-year-old quarterbacks because he did some backing up. I think he backed up Eli Manning at one point. So, again, Geno's 34. He's probably got a 30 to a 31-year-old body. More than anything, Pete is stability, Chip Kelly, Geno Smith. That's what they need. Seahawks have been stable forever. Same ownership group. They don't run through coaches. Pete Carroll was there forever. Now they have Mike McDonald. John Snyder's been the GM. He's been in the front office forever. Seahawks have all sorts of stability. It's a very good organization with a good roster. But they're looking at their division. They're looking at the Rams and going, all right, we're not as good as the Rams. They're looking at the Niners and thinking, I'm not sure we're as good as the Niners. And they're looking at Arizona thinking, well, Kyler Murray's a playmaker. They got their coach. We don't want to end up fourth. And we kind of feel like we kind of hit a ceiling. Absolutely hit a ceiling.
Okay, let's talk about this. I'm excited for the Raiders right now because they do have stability, and I do think that they can win because I do think Geno can really thrive in an offense with Chip Kelly and a culture with Pete Carroll, you know, and I just think that what they're going to be looking to do, I think is pretty exciting because I think you have two true coaches on both sides of the ball that really are going to have a deep vision for what they want to do offensively and defensively, as well as they actually know how to execute because they're both proven to be able to do that. And this is what's such the benefit of having Chip Kelly as the coordinator and not as the head coach. Because if he was the head coach, you would be able to say a lot of positives about what he's going to want to do offensively, but you would rightfully have like a ton of questions of like, how is he going to be as a head coach? I don't know. Then what's going to be with the defense, this, that, and the third. And same thing where if you had just Pete Carroll and you had kind of like a little bit more of an unknown offensive coach, you would be kind of like, yeah, no, listen, I know Pete Carroll's going to get this culture right and the defense will look good, but like, what are they doing offensively? You know, what is John Smith going to do with Geno Smith? You know, and you would be kind of going a little bit circular. You'd have a little bit concerns, but I really think that what they're doing is really smart considering who the Raiders have been. And I think getting a quarterback like Geno Smith too right now is like, again, they're not messing around with any of these other quarterbacks. Like they've already done the Gardner Minshew's trying to figure out the Aiden O'Connell. Like, you know, they already kind of did that. And it was obviously not, it obviously did not work out for them. And so I think going for a Geno Smith is like, as long as he's healthy, that you're going to get high level play out of Geno. Listen, is he going to absolutely rock the NFL and blow everyone away? No, of course not. But can he be really, really consistent? Can he have moments where you're just like, man, Geno is a lot better than people realize, right? Like, yeah, absolutely. Can they win games? Absolutely. Are you going to watch the Raiders? If the Raiders have a great roster, right? Let's say they have a great roster, they're well coached, all that type of stuff, and they're now going up against the Broncos, the Chargers, the Chiefs, etc. Are they going to lose a game and you're going to say Geno Smith was better, they win that game? Like, I don't think so. Like, that's kind of ultimately what you're looking for then. Obviously, if you have an unbelievable quarterback like a Josh Allen, Mahomes, etc., yes, that's obviously going to be great, But I think what we continue to see throughout a lot of these games is you're not going to say like, oh, if only Geno Smith was better. No, you would say, the Raiders, they have no run game, or their defense is just not good. Like, you would be looking for other things. Like, that is the benefit of having someone like a said Geno Smith. Now, could you blame in years past, blame the Gardner Minshews, the Aiden O'Connells of the world? Yeah, I think you could for any team, not just the Raiders. So I think that's where now you're kind of now being like, okay, great. Like, we have stability at the quarterback position. Again, do we have the quarterback that's going to just, that you can rely on him to outduel the Mahomeses of the world week after week after week? Like, no, I don't believe that. Can he go on runs? Absolutely. Do you think that you have to be concerned that he's going to be a liability for you? No. So again, I think getting that stability for the Raiders and building momentum, when you can build momentum with players that are all culturally bought in and believe, as well as having the right coaches, like that's 80% of it right there, man. I mean, it really is. So that's why, to me, this all really is we always talk about the coach quarterback duo. Having Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, and Geno Smith, this coach quarterback trio right now, to me is really what you're looking for more than anything. So yeah, getting a grown up, getting someone who can lead the team, getting someone who still is very athletic and still has a lot of football fight in them, I think is big. I really, really do. And I'm excited to see what other moves they make. And I do think that Chip Kelly and Geno Smith will work well. Listen, I think that at the end of the day, Sam Darnold would have made me even more excited because I think Sam Darnold, I think there's the potential for a higher ceiling. Number one, he's also more mobile than anyone is really giving him credit for, as well as he's significantly younger. So you're going to have you'll have more years, you'll have a longer track record. With Geno, he is older, he can get banged up, and you are now going to be looking at where you're like, okay, this is great. Even if he's like a great success this year or next year, you're still going to be constantly being like, all right, well, he's 36, he's 37. Like, you're still going to be kind of like, what, where is he at? And I understand what Colin is saying. He doesn't have as much tread on his tires, but like, that's too hard to predict how someone's going to age that way. You just don't know. It's not always just about wear and tear. You can take a 35-year-old who's never played football a day in his life, but doesn't mean that he's now like has the body of a 30-year-old football player. Like, it's not always that cut and dry. Age is honestly one of the hardest things to predict when you're talking about these players. I really never have any idea how to gauge a 34, 35, 36, 37, 38-year-old player in any position, in any sport. It's absolutely impossible. You just have no idea. And we can't say, well, look how this quarterback played or look how this basketball player aged. Like, it doesn't, honestly, it doesn't matter. And you're also always just one injury away. And at that point, it doesn't matter how much wear and tear you have. You need to know, like, what are the biological healing capabilities of this player in their moment in time right now. It has nothing to do with the wear and tear in their tires. It's like they're 37, they're 36, they're 35. How do they heal? And that's just, again, it's nobody knows. Literally nobody knows until it happens. It's absolutely impossible to know. So that's the only thing that gives me like slight concern for for Geno Smith, over say like a Sam Darnold. But I still think though that the Raiders, they're clearly thinking right now rather than long term. which I think is a fascinating place for the Raiders. They're clearly making moves. They're clearly trying to be aggressive. They were going to pay Stafford a ton of money. Obviously Crosby. Again, you're bringing in Pete Carroll. Because you're thinking right now, let's right this ship right now, and that's why I still think Chip Kelly is potentially like that next level up. And then maybe it is one of those situations where they're going to be doing everything they can to win right now. Over these next couple of years, they're going to kind of ride that wave, and then they have their exit strategy. They're going to have their quarterback in the wings, and they're going to have Chip Kelly take over. Like I'm so fascinated to see what their master plan is. But to me, it just feels like they actually have a plan rather than just saying, let's just try to get this quarterback and let's just try to get this coach and let's just try to get this player. Like for in years past, it was just kind of like, here's a list. I guess, this coach seems pretty good. And this quarterback I think is probably good. And this wide receiver, like they were like at a menu, they were at a restaurant looking at a menu and they were just like, sure. This is them actually sitting down and being like, we're going to construct our own menu. We're going to make our own restaurant. Like, we're going to figure this out. And they're doing their due diligence. They're making moves that not a lot of people saw. If this offseason, I don't think people were going to be anticipating, like, Brady's going to be running a big part of this team. And, we're going to get Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. And we're going to make moves for a quarterback. Like, I don't think anyone would have predicted this. And these are not obvious decisions. But so far, from my viewpoint, they're great decisions. And again, that to me signals that this is a team with a plan. They're not just doing like obvious, straightforward moves. Like they're making actual moves that an intelligent front office would make. So that's what makes me more excited than anything. And, anytime you actually have a plan, that makes me tip my hat to a team. Doesn't mean that it's going to work. Doesn't mean that it's going to give everything you want. But I will always respect a team that is actually trying to make smart, conscious decisions. Like, what was the plan for the New York Giants? What is that plan? What was the plan for the Dallas Cowboys? What is the plan? What was the plan for the Panthers? We can go through all these teams. Like, what is the actual plan? You don't have one, so I respect you significantly less. The Raiders, win or lose this coming season, I respect what they're doing because they're actually trying. They're making moves, and that's all from a fan base, from a fan perspective. Like, that's all you could really ask for. So I think there should be a ton of momentum and excitement for the Raiders this offseason going into next season. So round of applause for the Raiders. Round of applause. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Geno Smith to the Raiders? Do you think this is a good fit for Geno? Where do you think the Raiders kind of go from here? What do you think the expectations should be for them? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.